I want to start this video, preface this video with a little caveat, okay? So, first and foremost, I was never in the military, okay? I'm not affiliated with the military. I'm an audio-visual artist. I create music. I do art of different types. I do mixed media. I do portrait drawings, some photography. I design clothing. I have a clothing business. Okay, so I've been researching human perception, consciousness for about like 10 years, okay? And I've been doing remote viewing experiments for maybe like the last 7 or 8 years, okay? And really digging into this subject and trying to gain as much experience as I can in it. So, second of all, this topic is the most stigmatized and avoided subject in the world, okay? So if you're feeling like triggered or something about anything I said already, or by the title or whatever, then you should probably turn this video off and return back to the comfort of your own reality box, okay? Because yeah, this is more stigmatized than any conspiracy theory, more than flat Earth, more than 9/11, more than anything you can think of, okay? So the authoritative view of the intellectual class of the world, the reductionist materialism view held by mainstream institutions of the sciences of every kind, do not allow for the subject to be viewed in its entirety or honestly, okay? So now that that's out of the way, and we maybe lost 99% of the viewers, it's okay, because now the people who actually are interested in the subject can glean some information. So remote viewing is a perceptual communication skill. Okay, this is the definition that I align myself with. Okay, it's a perceptual communication skill. Okay, this is not paranormal. It's not parapsychology. Okay, it's a perceptual communication skill. The point is the whole goal of it is to establish a line of communication with what we call the subconscious, so that you can on demand have moments of what we call non-local awareness, okay? So remote viewing structures bring order to chaos, okay? You're about to perceive this thing, you don't know what it is, there's all these disjointed pieces of information. Well, you bring the order of your structure, of some kind of structured methodology, and that brings order to the chaos, okay? And hopefully you can glean something out of it at the end, right? So a structure allows the viewer, theoretically this is what the idea is, structure allows the viewer to push signals above the threshold of awareness, and as structure progresses, this aperture widens, and more of the target site is available to the viewer, to the awareness of the viewer. Okay, so this whole thing's about communication, right? So it's a communication skill. So there's different types of contact in communication. So for example, if I wanted to send you a message, I could use traditional mail and through the mailing system. I could use a telephone and voice call you. I could send you a text message, right? I could send you a picture message. I could do a video call. And now they even have virtual reality meetings and stuff like this. So different kinds of contact have different kinds of resolution, okay? So sending you a text message, I can communicate a message to you, sure, but it's gonna be a lower resolution image. There's probably gonna be less information in that message than if I just sent you a voice or a video message trying to communicate the idea, right? But you could still send the gist of the message over these different types of communication routes. So I could send you a text message and still convey the same message. You would get the same information out of it as if I was going to give you a voice call, alright? So I could just text you instead of calling you, right? Stuff like that. So depending on what I need to communicate or what someone needs to know, the preferred medium would be chosen, right? So if I wanted to have an in-depth conversation with you, I'm not going to type paragraphs and paragraphs of text. Some people do that, but that wouldn't be preferred, right? You just call the person or video call the person and have it that way, right? voice. Like, you know, you can get the words, like I could send you the text writing of a quote, like the typed out words that someone said in a quote, and you can, you know, read it, but now you may have lost the, you know, the emotional content or the conviction behind it, the tone of the person's voice, you know, facial expressions, body language. Those aren't communicated through that form of communication, right? So things are lost in translation sometimes, you know, depending on what type of medium we choose, or what type of message we choose to, how we choose to communicate. We lose certain information, right? So, like, imagine this right now. If I didn't have a video platform to share it with you, if I had to, like, write this in a book, sure, some people would read it, but, you know, it would take me a longer time to put it together, and it would take the person on the other end longer to take it in. And, yeah, a lot might have been lost in translation, things that I can show in this video that I might not have been able to really put into words in a book, right? So, now, on the subject of remote viewing and related to this whole communication scenario, right? Can images be perceived in remote viewing, right? In the early experiments, you know, there wasn't really any methodology, okay? It was like an interview. You'd sit down, Russell Targ was doing these little interviews and just asking the person to describe the things that pop into their awareness, you know, or what they saw. And even going back further, like the French parapsychologist René Wocollier, it's not like they were using crazy structured methodologies, right? These guys were just starting to get the first inkling of this phenomenon, right? So they had successes even without methodologies. Methodologies are to reduce noise, all right, and boost signal. That's what the methodologies are for. You don't need a methodology to have a non-local perceptual experience, okay? So, I want to show this little video clip here. This is Uri Geller and David Morehouse. So David Morehouse was involved with the military. Uri Geller was involved with the research that was done at SRI, okay? So he did a lot of hidden drawing experiments and other experiments that they used in development of remote viewing. And David Morehouse has a book, Psychic Warrior, of course. So here's this little video clip of them on TV doing this kind of like loose remote viewing experiment in front of the crowd. So I want you to take a look at this and pay attention to the visual aspect of this, okay? Uri Geller is going to explain how he receives these visuals, okay? So, because we're going to be talking about that in this video. So check this out, all right?
And now, can telepathy span the Atlantic Ocean? From a secret location in the United States, please welcome former Army Major David Morehouse. David Morehouse's book, Psychic Warrior, has become a bestseller detailing what he claims to be a campaign of psychic warfare carried on by the CIA and the United States Army. And he's here with us tonight, or he's there with us tonight, to attempt to demonstrate those skills that he was taught while a serving soldier. Skills, according to what I read, David, that you believe you were taught rather than born with.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's what you're going to demonstrate right now. And he's going to attempt to transmit what he sees to Uri across X thousand miles, and Uri will try and sketch that very scene from thousands of miles away. Now, Uri, are you ready for this?
I'll try.
All right.
This is what I...
You don't want to be examined by Dr. Penn before you go into the...
No. Okay, this is called remote viewing, and I've done this many years ago for the CIA and other intelligence services and agencies, and again, I can only do my best, so don't punish me if it doesn't work. All right, David, and I just want to mention that I don't really know him well, and this is not a setup. It's genuine, and I just keep my fingers crossed that this is
I've never seen you before, have I, Dad?
Okay. David, I want you now
Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay. I'm ready now.
Okay, I'm going to, I have a target folder with a photograph of the object that I'm going to be looking at, Uri.
Okay.
And I'm going to concentrate on it, and somewhere out in the ether, you and I'll meet, and you'll see it, and hopefully be able to sketch it. I'm going to begin now.
See, what's happening in my mind is I'm visualizing this, my imaginary television screen that I put in my mind in order to see the whatever he's looking at, and yes, very good. I'm already getting something. Yes? Concentrate on the lower part of this, whatever it is.
Okay.
Because right now it looks like a UFO.
I'm going to touch the picture now a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Continue. Okay, basically this is what I'm getting. If I'd have to describe, you know what, I don't really recognize what it is.
Well,
otherwise I would have probably, I mean, if it was the San Francisco Bridge or...
well, let's ask David Morehouse. There we see, first of all, there you see what Yuri's drawn.
Yeah.
What was David looking at and visualizing? Would you show us, David?
Oh! Wow! No! Great!
Well done. Well done. Well done.
I didn't get the triangle here, but yeah.
That's incredible. Well,
Now I would like, I'd like Yuri to send some back.
well, I think we've just got time for a quick something back.
Yeah, I got something. He
I'm
cannot
sorry, I
see.
just lost my earpiece.
Very quick, though. This may be too quick to get it.
He cannot see this, right?
Right? No, you can't. They're not getting the picture over there at all.
Okay.
Okay.
But he can hear me.
He can hear you.
I can hear you. Okay, I think what I have it.
All right, let's see. We could just see slide.
I don't believe this.
Okay.
I don't believe this!
Yeah, so as you can see there, Yuri and David both were able to, you know, perceive this image and draw very accurate representations of what the target was, right? So, and you know, there wasn't any like structured methodology there. That was just like on the spot. They just did it. You know, didn't take 40 minutes. Didn't take a very long time to get that done. Okay, so Uri Geller talks about this TV screen that he has in his mind, where the images manifest. Okay, so I read a book when I was maybe like 17 or so. It was called Silva Mind Control. And it's not about people getting mind controlled. It was about you taking control of your own mind using a couple different techniques. And one of the techniques in the book is the same idea here. It's this creating this mental screen in your mind. And but the trick to it is that, you know, you got to reach a certain brainwave state in order to have this effect really work. And you know, this is the same screen. The screen is the same place where, you know, you see memories and images in your mind's eye, okay? But this is consciously taking control of this idea, you know, purposefully using it, okay? So we're going to look at some definitions here. This might be kind of boring for some people, but if you really want to understand this and kind of... English is a tricky language, okay? So if you want to really grok the meaning of things and see the underlying connections, you know, you're going to want to look at the definitions of words. You know, what do they really mean? Okay, so I'm going to take a look at this word screen, all right, as a noun. Okay, a screen, a system for examining and separating into different groups. Okay, a piece of apparatus designed to prevent agencies in one part from affecting other parts. Okay, like an optical screen, right? A surface on which a picture or series of pictures is projected or reflected. That's the one that most of us think of when we think of the word screen, right? The surface on which the image appears in an electronic display, like a television set, a radar receiver, or a computer terminal, right? And a lot of people haven't really taken this into consideration yet, but the human body has an electrical system, right? So we have electrical impulses, we have electromagnetic fields in our body, so we got a screen as well, right? So as a verb, screen is to view the presentation of, right? It's like screen a movie. But it can also mean to test or examine for the presence of something, like screen someone for a disease, right? So this idea of screen, it's got like this double meaning. It's like, yeah, it's a surface where images are viewed or projected upon, but it also at the same time, it does examine and separate things into different groups. Like on a screen, you're viewing the output signal from the computer, the visual output signal. So it is a separation. It's separating out something and putting it on display for you. So English has like these multiple meanings to them. And by this point, you're probably kind of thinking like, this sounds kind of similar to like filter, like screen something to filter something. So like a filter, and this has an interesting definition in relation to what we're speaking about here, right? Filter, a device or material for suppressing or minimizing waves or oscillations of certain frequencies. Okay, so we're going to start talking about some frequencies now. So screens and filters are important when you're dealing with these kinds of things. Okay, so the first definition we're going to look at here, the next definition we're going to look at here is bandwidth. So earlier I was speaking of, sending text or sending a photo or doing a video call. Well, the main restrictions when encountering those kinds of questions has to do with bandwidth, right? You wouldn't try and download an HD video file with your dial-up connection, right? Because the bandwidth was too slow. It had a maximum transfer rate and speed. Now that we have high-speed internet and a DSL, broadband, now you don't think twice about that. I can stream a video or you can download gigs in a couple minutes, right? So what is bandwidth? This is important. Bandwidth. A range of frequencies within a given band, in particular, that are used for transmitting a signal. Okay? Here's another definition that probably a lot of people have never considered. Okay? The energy or mental capacity required to deal with a situation. Okay, so for example, he lives alone and says he doesn't have the bandwidth to handle a steady relationship. So there's electronics has the idea of bandwidth that we're all familiar with, but there's also this definition that has to do with energy and mental capacities. Okay, so in relation to remote viewing, this is important, right? So the capacity for data transfer of an electronics communication system, right? That's another definition. So, for example, graphics consume more bandwidth than text does, right? We all know that. So, like I was saying, so we got like dial-up. You're not going to do video. You're going to do mostly text and maybe like low-resolution images, right? With the whole broadband and Wi-Fi, we got 802.11, A and B. These are like high stream connections, right? Higher bandwidth. And now they're even talking about like 5G, they're increasing the bandwidth, okay? So a lot of people aren't aware, but the brain operates on different wavelengths, all right? So, and those wavelengths will have bandwidth, right? So these frequencies can be measured on an EEG. And I doubt an EEG can measure all the waves that are produced by the human brain or bio body, but for the ones that we can measure, this is what we've been able to suss so far. I'm gonna sketch out these brain waves here, and we're gonna take a look at these and investigate exactly what's going on here. These are the brain waves found in a normal adult. Okay, so we got three main ones that we're going to be interested in right now. Okay, so this first one right here, this is associated with awake and mental activity going on. This is called beta. Okay, B-E-T-A, beta. All right, so this is the brain wave that's most present when you're involved in conversations with others that command your full attention, right? Complex problem solving, assessment of a situation, public speaking, lectures, teaching information. Like right now, I'm in beta. That's the one that most people are living in all day, you know what I mean? They stay in beta consciousness usually, except for when they go to sleep, assuming that they're getting good sleep, right? So that's beta. The next one is alpha. Okay, that's the second one here. Alpha. Now, I don't want to get into the numbers, okay? The numbers aren't as important right now. I'm looking at the relationships between these things right now. So, alpha is a slower frequency. You can see the undulations are slower. Now, this could be over 1 second, okay? Pretend this is 1 second. Okay, so alpha is associated with awake but resting. So beta is awake but you have mental activity. Alpha is awake but resting. So this is the state that's encountered when you meditate. Okay, deep relaxation, imagination, intuitive thinking. That's what we're going for, right? This comes usually is like the relaxed mind that you get after you were in a complex thought mode and then you relax after. You know, you might slip into alpha. Meditation, once you set the mind's intention on itself, you'll slip into alpha. You have no outside distractions. So this is going to be the one that we're going to be interested in for this presentation. Okay, so after alpha, this is theta. Theta brainwaves. Now this is more associated with like accessing the subconscious, hypnagogic states like daydreaming, like dreaming and daydreaming, okay? Reactions and blood rhythms, heart rate and breathing change usually when you hit the theta, right? So the thing to keep in mind here is that each of these frequencies have different bandwidths and capacities, okay? That's what we're interested in here in terms of like remote viewing and what's possible, right? Because, you know, it's kind of like there's this discovery that human consciousness can, you know, perceive all this information. It seems to be unlimited, but for some reason it's like you can't get an image. You know what I mean? What's that about? Well, it could be because, you know, you're not on the right frequency with the right bandwidth or capacity for what you want, right? So we're going to get into that here now. Capacity, all right? The potential or suitability for holding, storing, or accommodating. All right, that's what the definition for capacity is. So mental capacity changes as our brain wave frequency changes. So the maximum amount or number that can be contained or accommodated. That's the definition of capacity that we're most familiar with, you know, is the stadium at full capacity, stuff like that. But it also has definitions that are related to what we're speaking about here. All right, an individual's mental or physical ability, aptitude, skill, right? He has the capacity to handle this job, right? Here's another interesting one. The faculty or potential for treating, experiencing, or appreciating, all right? Duty, position, or role. The faculty or power to produce, perform, or deploy, right? So each of these frequencies or mental states comes with different duties and positions and roles. All right, they got different capabilities. All right, one might be capable of something that the other isn't. All right, so you got to keep this in mind when in terms of this remote viewing stuff. So in communication, there's some kind of information that needs to be communicated. All right, depending on the content of the information, you got to choose the correct bandwidth, right, with the correct capacity. One suitable for holding or storing or accommodating the type of information, one that has the potential for experiencing or appreciating the information that you're trying to convey. All right, so the definition of appreciate, this is important, listen closely: to judge with heightened perception or understanding. All right, to be fully aware, of, to judge with heightened perception or understanding. That's what appreciate, that's a definition for appreciate. Okay, so different capacities have different potentials for experiencing or appreciating. That's the same as saying different brainwave states perceive or have a different capability for getting certain types of information. There's certain information you're not going to get here in beta that alpha can get, and there's stuff that theta can see that alpha can't. Okay, so it's all about, this is the whole idea of everything's frequency. We're touching more closely on it here. All right, forget all that new age stuff that you hear about. Okay, so depending on what frequency bandwidth your brain is operating, which position or role, which frequency you're in, you will or will not perceive this or that kind of information. Okay, you only perceive the information that's within the capacity of the state that you're in. Right? You won't become fully aware of the information that's outside of your range. So, and that's the whole idea that the brain is a filter, right? Right? It suppresses certain frequencies. Okay. So, another way to think of this whole idea of frequency in a way that might be more easily understood in a physical sense is the idea of frames per second. Okay, so this idea of frame rate. So if you play video games or you're into computer stuff or even video work, you're probably familiar with frame rate. So frame rate, frames per second, is the frequency or rate at which consecutive images called frames appear on a display. Okay? The term applies equally to film and video cameras, computer graphics, and motion capture systems. Okay? So in 1 second, let's say 30 different images were displayed in 1 second. That's how a lot of these devices work. They're creating the illusion of a continuous image by displaying consecutive images at a speed that your eyes can't detect, right? So to your eye, it looks like a continuous image. Really, they're individual still frames, right? So this video has a particular frame rate to create that illusion, right? At your current rate or capacity of awake consciousness, this illusion holds up. But if you took a high frame rate camera that can record in a higher frame rate, and you recorded let's say your monitor right now, you could actually see that the image is being drawn really fast. You'd be able to slow down the frames that you're missing with your conscious mind. You could see it happen on a camera that captures in a high frame rate. So you can think of remote viewing as a remote viewing signal as a frame rate that operates outside of your current frame rate for visual perception. Okay, your physical eye is not always capable of capturing those frames. They're moving too fast for your eye to catch, so to speak. Okay, so here's a couple examples. Here's 2 videos that are an example of this whole idea. So hopefully you can grasp this. Here's a video of monitors, a Super Mario game, being played on this monitor, but the person films it and kind of shows you how the monitor builds this image step by step, block by block, but your eye is not fast enough to catch it. Okay, so this is the same kind of concept going on here with frequency rates. Your eye's viewing at a certain frequency, but the TV is pulsing at a rate that your eye can't catch. But anytime your eye does see it, the image is continuous. Okay, so here's that clip here, and hopefully you can kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about. And here's a video of this video kind of went viral. It's kind of funny. It's of like a hummingbird or a bird like flying near someone's security camera at their house, and the frame rate of the camera can't catch the movement of the bird's wings in its entirety, so it looks like the bird's just like floating. And you know, a lot of people thought it was like edited or manipulated, but you know, if you understand frequency and frame rate, it doesn't seem all that magical or unbelievable. And the same thing applies to remote viewing. Okay, it seems like it's impossible. You know, how does the information come or go to the viewer? All that stuff. If you start thinking of it in frequency, it's not that incredible or amazing. Okay, it's just syncing up with the right frequency. That's really what is happening when you do a remote viewing session. It just happens through your focus and intention and going into these brainwave states, as we're going to get into. So here's this video with this bird, so check it out.